Good morning. Rise and shine, my friends. Today is Tuesday, June 4th, and this is Wake Up with KERA News. I'm Katherine Hobbs. Thank you so much for starting your morning with me. We're solidly in the 90s for the rest of the week, and today we'll hang in the low 90s, which kind of sounds like an oxymoron to me, but the rain will kick off again tomorrow. As we transition from Mental Health Awareness Month to Pride Month, I'm going to be subbing out my mental health talks for Pride ones. Here's a bit of Dallas queer history for you this morning. The city's first Pride Parade was just 3 years after the Stonewall riots. About 300 folks marched through downtown, sending a clear message that the Dallas LGBTQ+ community was prepared to fight for their rights. The 1972 march was the foundation for more than 50 years of progress for the city's queer community. Now, let's get you the news you need to start your day. A Tarrant County detention officer who was recently fired and then quickly rehired after a jail death faced a separate investigation in the past. The sheriff fired Lieutenant Joel Garcia after one of the jailers he supervised knelt on the back of Anthony Johnson Jr., who later died. Garcia was later reinstated. At the advice of county attorneys, he was put on paid leave instead. Garcia's attorney, Randy Moore, declined to give details on the previous issue he was investigated for, but he did maintain his client's innocence. Mexican election officials say they had to close polling centers by 7:30 p.m. Sunday, despite many still waiting in line to vote in the historic election. Only 968 people pre-registered to vote at the Mexican consulate in Dallas. Election officials went on to add an additional 1,500 spots for those who didn't pre-register. Still, many weren't able to vote, including those who pre-registered and some who stood in line for more than a dozen hours. It's been more than a week since a tornado and a series of severe storms tore through parts of North Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Authorities say at least 7 people were killed in Texas, and that number could go up. Some of those hit hardest lived in Valley View, a Cook County town of about 800 people that straddles Interstate 35. KERA's Toluwani Osibemowo reports residents and business owners are attempting to pick up the pieces and rebuild their lives.
Overturned boats, twisted heaps of metal, the chipped head of a broken wood utility pole. This field of rubble in Valley View was home to Joe Baker's excavation and towing businesses. He stares at the destruction as he leans against the driver's side door of his white Dodge pickup. Baker was trying to protect that very truck from hail on May 25th when he was forced to hide inside of it as a tornado ripped through town. He was somewhat protected while the truck was parked inside his storage unit, but he remembers the hollow roar of the wind that burst his doors open, turned the truck, and toppled racks that trapped him inside.
It was kind of frightening. It was a little bit of a ride there for a minute.
Did you think you were going to come out okay?
I don't know.
Baker lost 13 boats and 7 trailers. He says he and his wife had no insurance in place because they were planning to sell the property. But Baker says he sees the destruction as God's way of giving him a clean slate.
So our plans now is to just send everything that's here to the recyclers and get the property cleaned back up and get the electricity and the plumbing, all the utilities back to where they need to be and start over.
The John Fortenberry Community Center in the middle of town has served as a home base for victim resources and aid. Joe Wilkerson is Valley View's mayor pro tem. He says the center has received donations and helping hands for days, including people just walking in ready to get to work. Wilkerson says what the town needs now is money, as well as tools like tarps, rope, duct tape, nails, and cleaning supplies.
We're hoping within the next couple of weeks that, all of our stock here is gone through and people are kind of set back up and they're ready to start, rebuilding.
Seeing the volunteers' kindness was humbling for Tessa Louise Garrison. She and her husband moved from Spokane, Washington to their house in Valley View the day before the storm hit. Garrison and her in-laws didn't think much of the tornado watch while they prepared for dinner that Saturday, but the couple headed back home as soon as things took a turn for the worse.
When we saw the tornado warning, I said to my husband, if a tornado hits, I'm packing up and going back to Spokane.
Fortunately, the only property damage the couple suffered was some broken tree limbs. Garrison says they considered themselves lucky to be safe and to be part of a caring community unlike what they'd known in bigger cities.
We've had so many people reach out to us to make sure that we're okay. Us just moving down here and making sure that, the tornado didn't not only scare us, but didn't damage us.
Across the street, Jerry Huggins was grilling hamburgers and hot dogs for tornado victims and the volunteers helping them. He'd been outside since about 10 a.m. and made more than 100 burgers and 50 hot dogs by the afternoon. The hospice chaplain says everyone was helping out, even people who had their own homes destroyed.
They're really uplifted, when they can come and be around volunteers that tell them it's going to be okay. We don't know how, but it's going to be okay.
And one of the most helpful things Huggins says he's learned is how to listen to people when they're hurting.
That was KERA's Tolawani Osibamowo. Last night, the Rangers lost 2-1 against the Detroit Tigers, and in some really sad news, former Cowboys offensive lineman and NFL Hall of Famer Larry Allen has passed away. He was 52 years old. People living with post-traumatic stress disorder have seen a rise in alternative treatments over the past few years. Ketamine has been a big player, but there's a new med on the scene. MDMA is a chemical compound found in ecstasy, and while the treatment is still awaiting full approval from the FDA in August, years of research have gone into this medication. However, some pretty serious research misconduct allegations could derail MDMA's approval time. For more, check out NPR's Shortwave podcast. If you're tuning in from Irving, have you checked out the Food Truck League? Every Tuesday, dozens of food trucks will be serving up food from around the world. You can check it out at the Levy Event Plaza from 5 to 8 p.m. tonight. And for more going on around North Texas, be sure to check out kera.org/calendar. Thank you so much for starting your day with me today. I'm so glad you take a few minutes to listen each morning. Be sure to subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA newsletter, also by yours truly, at keranews.org, and check us out on Instagram and Threads at KERATX. I'm Katherine Hobbs. We'll chat again tomorrow.